Well, cheers to that. Let's get into it. We are here at the Repco Bathurst 1000 post-race press conference. Now we've got our winners in the middle, flanked by the four boys on the podium. Congratulations to Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander. I might keep my role a bit short today because there's a lot of people in the room who might have a few questions, so I'll direct my questions solely to the winners and then I'll open it straight up to the press. All right, Shane, let's get into it. Big day. Sprayed some champagne, you've been on the host desk, you've had a chance to maybe speak to a few guys in the team. Now that you've had a moment to reflect on it, how's it starting to sink in?
Oh, it still hasn't yet. It's pretty fresh, but epic day, and you know, to compare to 2020, like it's another farewell to Holden, but also to have the fans here and to share it with them. And this week, I learned a lot how much the brand means to people, and to represent it like we do, and you know, it's a privilege to add to the tally of Holden wins, and yeah, it's hard to put into words, but it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool also that you and the team together got to farewell Pukekohe and farewell Holden at Bathurst in 2 races.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think Adelaide's going to be a massive one. That's the home of GM or Holden there. So yeah, hopefully we can have a good finish to the year as well. But yeah, today was epic.
Dad missed out on your last Bathurst win, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was it cool to have him here today for that?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, he's finally able to come over to races again, and I've loved being at racing with him this year, mainly with Rally, and then for him, I think he came to Townsville and now to this one. It's great to have him at races and, you know, see how much it meant to him as well, and it's a real shame he missed out on my first, but that one's pretty cool.
Didn't quite wrap up the championship today. Do you even care?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would have liked to, you know, but maybe if we go good at Gold Coast and wrap it up, that's a pretty cool place to have a party too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right, Garth, you're up. Those
Hi.
last few laps, you had a camera looking at you for about 30 minutes solid, watching you blink, flinch, sniff, get up. What's that experience like, those last 30 minutes of a race here?
Yeah, those TV people are very annoying. Yeah, look, it's funny, Jamie came over with about 10 to go and he goes, geez, this being out of the car and watching other people do it sucks. And he's right, it does suck. But, you know, having Shane in the car at the end of the race and watching the 3 guys go at it, Chaz and Cam, and Brodie as well, going at it like they did after that last safety car restart, it's mega to watch. So, yeah, you go a bit race fan and just enjoy the show, but then you realise you've got a fair bit of investment in the result as well. So Chaz threw everything at him in those last 4 or 5 laps, and yeah, I didn't know how it was going to play out. So that's as nervous as I've been outside of a race car ever, I reckon.
How special is the guy next to you as a talent behind the steering wheel? And we've seen him achieve some pretty good stuff this year, but now that you can see the data, you can see what he's capable of.
I mean, as we were walking here, I just said to him, I said, reasonable week for you, really, when you think about it. He's scored points in WRC, finished inside the top 10 in a WRC event, and then 7 days later delivered what he delivered today. I mean, I said to Shane after the Pukekohe result that I'll never blow wind up his arse, but he's going okay right now. I mean, it's hard not to. And yeah, I feel very, very privileged to be able to get close, see the data, see the vision, work with him and see how he goes about it. And, you know, I'm an old bastard, but I still get the opportunity to learn a lot, and that's been really enjoyable.
5 now, mate. Did you ever think that would happen?
Nope. Yeah, I have never really been emotional after a race, but that was pretty emotional, like just the realisation that 5's a pretty serious number to have had success here, and I knew that the car and Shane and the team were going to be exceptional this week, and I was determined not to be the weakest link in the team this year. So I worked really, really hard in the lead up to this one, and yeah, I was pretty satisfied with the way that middle stint went, and to be able to contribute in a small way. So 5's a pretty serious number, but I won't probably realise that until much, much later.
I heard you say that, Jess, on the host desk, that this one felt more special than 2020 because you felt like you contributed more. What do you mean by that?
You know, just being up to speed early, and, you know, that middle stint, just being able to gap and open up the gap and give the team flexibility with strategy and things like that, not being boxed into a corner. So, that was really my goal when we got ourselves back to the lead after the pit stop penalty, just to open up maximum flexibility and sort of not just give the car back in the lead, give the car back in the lead with plenty of options for the team. So, that was pretty satisfying.
You want to come back another year and do it again?
I'll work that out later.
Let's open it up, shall we?
Nothing? All right, we'll go. Cheers. Thanks.
Hi guys, it's Fabian and QMC Bathurst. It's a question to all you guys. Was that one of the most, craziest Bathurst 1000s you raced? There was a lot of crashes, a lot of skids out and things like that. The weather was also very unpredictable. What was the race like and what was the track like, going throughout the day and the whole race, trying to adapt to the different conditions and the different things that were happening around you as well?
For me, 2014 Bathurst was probably still more hectic than that when you get a red flag in the middle of the day for a track breaking up. So even though that was a very hectic race, a lot of safety cars, cars completely out of control on the wet infield, I still think 14 for me was probably more hectic than this year. But saying that, it was still right up there for sure. So, it was a lot going on out there.
Might get one from Cam about just how hectic this race was.
Hello. Whoa. It wasn't too bad for me, obviously, at the start because I wasn't in the car. It was, mostly co-drivers in the car and, they weren't making massive mistakes, but as soon as they went on the infield, it was just, kind of like aquaplaning. They had no control and obviously massive crashes. So obviously there was so much rain, the build up to this weekend and across the weekend, that's what caused it. But I don't know. I probably think those conditions are the worst that I've experienced since coming here.
Guys, for the guys who weren't in the car, Garth talked about not being in the car at the end, but I imagine in those conditions not being in the car would be every bit as nerve-wracking because it can end the race at the beginning or the end.
No, I was quite happy watching the other guys drive around in it. So they were all having moments and stuff, and I had my faith in Moff to do a good job, and he did a good job in those conditions. So I was happy watching.
Chaz?
Nothing. Just fingered it.
Me or Fabs? What was that? Fabs. You go, Fabs.
The question was something about the hectic bit at the start. And the pressures, basically, yeah. No, it was all right. We had some fun out there. It was pretty dicey in a couple of spots with being on slicks and the chase was soaked. Turn 2 was pretty wild, but, the rest of the track wasn't too bad. So we just had to manage those two areas. But, yeah, I guess you just know your role, you know your job. You got to get it back at one piece and you go as fast as you can in those conditions.
Evening, gents. Great race. Just to start with, or particularly at the start of the race, there were some comments from Greg Murphy, from Brad Jones, particularly about the driving standards in the first hour, and obviously particularly that major crash on the restart. A couple of you guys were in the middle of some of that. Your thoughts? Actually, I think Shane, you even made a comment with about 120 to go about Chaz. Some comments on that, gents?
Yeah, I went off on the radio, but I was having such a good time as well. But probably not good to get involved in that stuff and the bump and run, and then we were battling a bit hard, and then I was, a bit too excited for that early, so told him to calm down a little bit in a ruder way than that. But it was a good time, but probably too early.
I don't know what it was referring to, so I don't know. This weekend, obviously, I think there was a fair few things that happened in qualifying and people impeding laps, and then I watched the race and I saw some people get turned around at certain points and didn't see any penalties get handed out either. So I think this weekend with so much being hectic out there and so much going on, I'm pretty confident a few things actually got missed out there. Not even in regarding, I was watching the TV where I think it was the Irwin car when there was all carnage down there at the chase after that second big crash there. And the Irwin car got turned around the other way from, looked like a shell car at that stage, and I didn't see a penalty happen for that. I don't know what happened with the standards with that.
Just one for Cam, another podium, but obviously you're still chasing that top step. How are you feeling about this one? Do you feel like it's another opportunity sort of missed, or are you happy with it?
We definitely gave it everything we had. So we had a pretty fast car. Just, some stuff happened in the middle of the race which cost us track position, and then, it was just a battle from that point on. So that's the beauty of Bathurst. It throws stuff at you across the day. You need to, not get caught up in other people's stuff and have a clean day, and we didn't have that today. So, disappointed to come home third. I guess we've been consistent the last few years up here, which is great, but we need to get the job done.
Question for Shane. Shane, it's been a pretty I'll stick with the hectic theme, pretty hectic past couple of weeks for you with the rally and this. How are you feeling physically? Do you feel like you're good to go for the next 2 rounds? You're looking forward to a couple of weeks off?
I reckon tomorrow morning I'm going to be feeling worse. No, I'm good. And right from Thursday, I felt on it in the car, like driving so much, just keeps you so much sharper, I think. And when I don't drive for 2 or 3 weeks, you jump back in a car and everything's happening very fast. So, I feel like all this driving, it makes me better as a driver. And yes, there is some risk, especially with the rally stuff, but I think it makes me a lot better.
There's 2 rounds to go, Shane, but you've hit the highest wins in a season today. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on this season so far and what it means to you to hit that, to beat Scott's record.
Yeah, I might upset some people, but it is a pretty special thing to do it without all the calls of parity and stuff. Like, it makes me feel like as a team we've done such a good job. I feel like we're not the best in qualifying, we're not the fastest car, but in the races we seem to execute it. And working with Andrew this year, he's been fantastic. And when we're under pressure, when things aren't so good, the way he tunes the car up and goes about it, along with the rest of the engineering group, I think we're in a pretty special place at the moment. So obviously it's going to change next year and be a lot more difficult. But this year's been very, very cool.
He kind of tried to pass at a corner you don't usually pass at, and we lost 15 spots, and I thought that that was all good, but I just wasn't really sure why Jake got a penalty when he was up alongside Murph. He was on the curb and couldn't really go anywhere else, and then Jake got a 15-second penalty. So I don't know.
Fabian, this is your best ever performance at Bathurst. What does this result mean to you?
It's awesome. Anytime you can stand up here. I've been coming to Bathurst since 2004 or 5 or whatever it was, and I've only had 2 podiums. This being the second. So incrementally, third, second, hopefully first isn't too far away. But it's just anytime you can stand on that podium, look out above the crowd and see the sea of people below you. It's definitely the best podium of the year.
Guys, for all of you, given what happened at the start, should the race have got underway with the standard start, or should it have started under safety car like some of the support categories had this weekend?
It's dry, wasn't it? Track was dry.
The start was
We can't go all soft like Formula 1, so I think we did the right thing.
Love some more of that beer. Love some more of the beer.
Hi, I'm Thomas Miles from Auto Action. Just for Shane, obviously, your second win, but you're in a very similar situation in 2020. Did you lean on that experience to help you get over the line? Were there many differences when you're in the driving seat?
I didn't have 3 stints of pressure. Probably 2020 was tougher mentally for a longer period of time with Cam on me for those 60 laps or whatever it was. And I knew once Chaz got past Brody, if he did, that's when the pressure was going to come. The first 2 stints, in that last one, I kept myself pretty fresh. And then, pushed for a little bit, I think 5 or 6 laps after the safety car once the tyres came up. And when I sort of gapped him a bit, I knew I was okay. So, of course, it wasn't easy, but I felt like I had him covered, whereas Cam probably put more constant pressure on me.
James, another podium for you. How was your day and what's your thoughts to take from this?
It was probably going okay for us until Brodie just drove like a dickhead at the cutting and turned us around and, put us on the back foot really for the rest of the day. So proud of the team for, just putting their heads down and, not giving up. And Cam drove the wheels off it like he always does. So to get back up on the podium is nice. And, we probably just weren't quite fast enough with the car speed. And then, when you get stuck behind cars, it's just so difficult to follow in these current generation cars. So you've really either got a lap or two to pull a move, and otherwise it's usually follow the leader.
Chaz, you did a quadruple stint then when the two guys beside you could have. Are we going to see a change to the way the back end of this race is run in the future? And how do you feel?
I hope so for everybody else. I'd just like to go back to the double home would be nice for me. But, the race just kind of panned out the way it did for us. We kind of wanted to do very similar to last year, be fresh for the way home, but we just didn't quite have the track position this year. So, a few little things of our day didn't quite go to plan. But, at the end of the day, the car was super quick but at the end of the race. But probably the first 80-odd laps, I think it was, the car was quite compromised. So, we once the car came back to life in the last 80, but we just had no track position, so had to put our head down, dig our heels in, and like Moff said, these cars are quite hard behind other people. Even though you might have half a second advantage around here, it pretty much brings you back to on par with someone. So racing someone like Brodie, I knew we had a better car, but just the dirty air really struggled. So to be able to jump him in the pits there, have a chance at trying to go with Shane. But, Shane was probably a little bit quicker than those guys, and I tried my hardest, but just come up short today.
Just for all of you, I want to get your opinion on the lucky dog or the wave around rule for the lapped cars. As the leaders, do you like the fact that the lapped cars get waved through and get out of the way, or do you think that if you're the leader and you've got yourself into a position where you have put the back marker between yourself and your pursuers, that you should have that advantage at the safety car race start?
Start with Shane. You were the leader, Shane?
Ideally it's good because you want more cars up in the battle and in the race, but it's too easy to get a lap back, and it needs to be a bit more of a challenge with strategy instead of just waiting. You'd see the cars pit and then they'd get a free kick again, so they get a full tank of fuel and the wave around. So it's probably a bit easy for them to get the laps back, but ideally we need a bigger grid size to not need this stuff, so I think we need a bigger grid size.
And Chaz?
I personally like it. I think it's pretty harsh. All these teams come here every year and sometimes the races don't go to plan. I think it's pretty rough on teams for 6 hours if they're out of the race in the first hour because we refuse to let people try and get back into the race. So shoes on the other foot, I think it's if you're leading and you've done everything right, then you don't understand why these other cars come back into the race and have a chance at winning again. But it's we're in entertainment at the end of the day. You've got all these teams and all these people come here to put all this effort in. The least we could do is at least make a race of it. So I think it's good.
Anything to add, Cam?
No, you can be, I guess, both sides of it, can't you? It'll work for you or against you, and I guess if you're leading, you don't want it, but we are in the entertainment industry and we want to put on a show for all our fans, so the more cars in the race, the better.
Guys, thank you. Well done. Congratulations. Go celebrate.